Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Kindra's Corner Story Time. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how I lived through and how I was the main target of a modern day witch hunt while I was in Sweden. Not the whole time I was in Sweden. This witch hunt or attack on me, it lasted for about a year and a half. Now, I made mention about this briefly in one of my Q&A videos I uploaded about a week ago, the one that has the title Sweden in there. And what I'm sharing with you today is not the reason why I left Sweden. It's the reason why I didn't want to stay in the town where I was living for the most part, but not the reason why I left Sweden. The reason why I left Sweden, I'm not going to regurgitate that here. You could go and visit, if you haven't already, my Q&A video, the one that has the Sweden in the title. And I explained there why I left the country and how I regret doing so. All that's there. It's just in that video I mentioned how I was attacked, or like physically attacked and targeted. And I briefly touched on that, and I promised I'd speak about it in the next story time. So this is what we're doing here today. So today I'm going to be sharing how I became the main target of a witch hunt, basically accused of black magic, witchcraft, tarot reading, in trouble for that, something sinister there. National socialism, writing for questionable magazine, how I'm basically is the main, organizing attacks on people, physical attacks apparently, animal and possible human sacrifice I was targeted for, or allegations against me by the authorities, and also how I guess I'm some kind of kingpin because apparently, according to Swedish authorities at that time, I had all the information. I am the key to all the satanic cults around Sweden where they wanted to find. They wanted to know where these cults are, who the members are, and take them down. And I had the answers apparently. And so, before we dive into this completely, get yourself a snack, something to drink, maybe something hard to drink, and get very comfortable because I have a wild ride to take you on with this story of mine from my life that I'm going to share here with you today. So let's get on with it. And first, I'm going to state right here and now that the whole time I was in Sweden, I did not conduct tarot readings. I was not offering rituals for hire. I never have. But I'm not going around offering witchcraft services, nothing like that. Not advertising I'm a witch. It's not like I'm walking around, or I walked around with witch branded on my forehead, or marching in the middle of town with National Socialist banners or anything like that. But for the way I was treated, I might as well have been. Now, how this started, I have to give you a little bit of a backstory so you know why I was targeted like this, or why the authorities would have even noticed me. Because let's face it, when I was going around Sweden, walking around town normally, I didn't look much different than I do now. And I certainly wasn't, like I said, witch walking around saying I'm a witch, or witch branded on my head, walking around in witch gear or whatever, or National Socialist banners or whatever, they're accusing me of. So, and the town where I lived, majority going around there of the people my age and younger, and maybe even a bit older, were highly gothed out. Much more gothed out than I've ever been in my life. I ever appeared goth or witchy in any of my photo shoots. Regular people are walking around town looking like this on a regular. So why would the authorities single me out? It's not like I was sticking out like a sore thumb. The reason why I was targeted was jealousy. A friend of me you could say. This person, who I believed to be my friend at the time, could actually be the face that pops up if you type in frenemy. She would make the perfect poster child for that. Now, this is someone who I did not seek out to be friends with, not someone who would normally be in my regular friend circle whatsoever. This person literally approached me on the street one morning as I was walking from wherever I was coming from. Maybe it was class, I don't know. But I was walking on the street, cutting through town to get to where I live. And this person was walking the opposite way and came right up to me, knew who I was, and started talking to me. They knew I was, but I don't think she remembered my name. I can't remember. But this person's a photographer and wanted to work with me. Never worked with alternative models before, though, but wanted to get into that kind of photography. And because at one point my face was in Gothic Beauty magazine. I was never a Gothic Beauty model, never a photo spread there, I wish. But I appeared in several magazines, not that one. But one of my photographers had an ad in that magazine, and in that ad featured image from one of our photo shoots of me. And so that's my only time association. But just because the name Gothic Beauty is there, I think this person thought that then she could say that she worked with me, make me look good on her photography portfolio, whatever. And knowing how this person is, probably would have said I was a Gothic Beauty model, or have a main spread in there or something, just to make herself a good thing. I worked with that because this is someone who's looking opposite of me. This is someone who's looking for titles and associating with people with titles. This is what this person's after for their own recognition. And well, after meeting with this person a few times, we did develop some kind of friendship. Like, manipulative people can be very friendly and appear how you want to appear if they want something from you, right? And I fell for it at the time. And to be honest, at that point, I was kind of bored. And that town is very boring. And it gave me a creative outlet to work doing creative photo images with this person. Why not? I was working with other photographers, but not on a regular. And with this person, it would have been maybe a weekly thing or more than once a week. And we do different photo themes, and she gets to practice. And in the end, we both get cool photos that we could use on social media or to promote ourselves in whatever way. That was the plan, supposed to be. Now, this person's highly jealous of me, and the main thing came out with the photos. And I'm going to jump into this now, just to give you a backstory on this person, my history with this person. They did leaps and bounds, even took legal bounds to try and stop me from using the photos, all over jealousy. And this is when I stopped talking to this person, and then the other attacks began on me, the police reports and all that. What happened is this person didn't like the fact that if I used images on my social media or whatever, people were complimenting me or however I was fixed up in that photo or the photo theme. No one singled out, oh, naming said photographer is such a good photographer, which is what she wanted. Like, I'm not posting on photography sites to advertise the photographer, so I don't know what she was expecting out of this. Of course, people who follow me and friends, they're going to comment on me and not say, oh, that photographer is so good, and name the person and then go follow them. That never happened. Now, the photographer's name's on the photo or their company name would be on some of the photos. I always give credit to the photographer, like I do to all the photographers I worked with. So I really didn't see the problem, but this bothered the person. So this is why I stopped talking to them. Meanwhile, even after I stopped talking to them, this person was producing merchandise, posters, pins, t-shirts, you name it, with my image on it from these shoots, making a profit. If I wanted any of this stuff, even as a friend, I would have had to purchase it. I never made any money on it. Did I stop them from doing that? No, but I could have, but I didn't. Now I regret I didn't. Well, later on, what happened to me, I should have went after it when I had the chance. This person then developed before the photo thing. The photo thing was the big boof for the person to not hide anymore what they were against me. But when they were pretending to be my friend, they were already setting up a case against me. That case is built on jealousy of the fact is this person is American and been married to a Swedish guy and living in Sweden for 4 to 5 years before I arrived there. This person never obtained a job in Sweden. Like, they did what they can to make their own money through their photography, I guess, but before even doing that, they couldn't get hired by anyone and never obtained Swedish citizenship. Now, as I mentioned in that previous video on the Q&A, I had no problem with any of that. I got my Swedish citizenship as soon as I applied for it, and I had no problem finding a job, a decent paying, respectable job. And this person was very jealous and expressed a jealousy, especially when I got the citizenship. They even tried to stop me from applying for jobs, to discourage me, saying, well, I never got a job at McDonald's. They're never going to hire you. They'll only hire you if you're from like some war country or something. You're never going to get, well, I got it. And then they kind of was quiet for a while, then came back. And then when I got the citizenship, and then I showed them proof, because they were trying to tell me that it's fake or it's only temporary. And I literally stopped by her home because she asked me to. And I got my papers and showed them. And my ex at the time, wasn't my ex, was my fiance, was with me. And he noticed too how jealous she was, because the smile wiped off her face. She's like, oh, so you're a citizen. That's it. No congratulations, nothing. And then created some big drama story to draw all attention on her. And we didn't stay long at her place that day. We left, but when we left, my ex was saying what he noticed and how jealous she is. And I knew he was right, but I was in denial. I didn't want to admit someone who I thought was my friend would be jealous like that or wishing ill on me in any way. And then it started. Um, Without me knowing, there was reports to the police stating, I found this out later, of course, which I'm going to get into. There was reports saying that I was planning attacks on this person. This person feared for their life, that me and whoever I'm involved with, friends, whatever my group, would they fear that they wait for them at night when they cut through the park or cut through the churchyard, that they're going to be violently attacked by me or my associates, or that we're there and we're giving them verbal threats, which isn't true at all, as if we're hanging out in bushes or whatever, waiting for them 24/7, you know. But of course, there's no proof of any of this, and the police aren't quick to act on anything, on stuff like this, especially when it's amongst citizens. So, you know, it's not involving anyone from any other kind of foreign country, so they're not going to get involved, you know. So they were ignoring that. So then the whole thing against the witch hunt began on me, because this person obviously is a snake and did their due diligence to find out everything they could about how the law works in Sweden, and specifically for that town, and how they can manipulate it. They found all the loopholes. So if ever this person and her husband happened to see me and my so-called associates, being my fiance and my friends or whatever, saw me anywhere, even getting off a bus, they could be across the street, you see me, oh, there's Kindra, report to the police that I threatened them or something. Write down the time they saw me. So of course, if the police asked me at this time, were you at this place? Were you getting off the bus or walking? Yeah, I was. So therefore, could back up. So then you did see them and they did threaten you. Even if I didn't see them, they're claiming I'm threatening or whatever. So this is the backstory, how things started. What I didn't realize were all the accusations against me about conducting black magic spells to try and destroy this person or cause harm, about how I was being accused of animal sacrifice. And apparently I'm responsible for missing children at the time too. So the police started investigating me without me knowing and observing, investigating my social media. Now at the time I was very active on MySpace, because MySpace was the big brouhaha then. And in MySpace, back in the day, if for those of you who are on there, remember, beside your profile picture, you could write a little blurb. Well, beside my profile picture, I wrote a quote from a track from the band Death in June. I put, all pigs must die. So that got held against me. My photo at the time was one I did with a photographer who originally grew up in the town where I was living, but I didn't know he was banned from the town, right? I'm going to get into this, but it's a photo he took of me. in the photo, which I'm sure many of you have seen before, and it's been used on several music artists have used it on album covers, merchandise, promo posters. It's been around, and I posted around. It's basically I'm wearing some kind of shroud, like some kind of transparent material layered over me. I look like a ghost because I'm in like a shadowed corner or whatever, and you could see through it that there's blood on me, like you see parts of blood on me. Wow. That photographer works only with real blood. FX blood freaks him out. So when I worked with him, he had to use real blood. And according to the police, this is why he was banned from the town and accused of being a Satanist and running a satanic cult because he had questionable tattoos that look satanic. I don't know whatever he said, and apparently in his youth he probably got in trouble for different things, and maybe he had an interest in Satanism back then. But trust me, this guy does not run a satanic cult. He's not sacrificing anything, people or animals, but they think he does. So he's living outside the town. He didn't tell me at the time we worked on that photo shoot that he was banned from the town, but it makes sense why, because he used to teach Photoshop or graphic art at the university, and then he disappeared one day. And when he picked me up for the photo shoot, he insisted it was between 5 and 6 a.m. in the morning. I think it's because he wanted to avoid the authorities. He even had to sneak in because he was banned from attending his sister's wedding. There was some warning given to his family that if he comes, he's going to get arrested. So he kind of had to sneak into that. So there's like very strange. But he didn't tell me this. And then when they saw, oh, I know that guy, right? I worked with Marcus Baggy, the naked priest. That's it. You know, the guy with the blood, the guy with the satanic cult. So when they saw that, and on my page, the whole thing with National Socialism is on my space, and I'm pretty sure in other social media where you could write it, where it says your interest. Of course, I put the occults or witchcraft, Satanism, and World War II. Because at the time, especially that I've always been interested in World War II and the whole era, but especially the occultism involved with that too. But at that time, I was really hardcore studying it and really into that, and Madame Blavatsky and stuff, and studying that because Blavatsky had ties or theosophical ties with all that thing that went on in that World War II era. Now, so right away, oh, I'm a National Socialist. I'm obviously part of an organization or supporting a certain said organization in Sweden for that, right? According to authorities. So they built up a big report about me. Once they knew, pretty sure they had me targeted, everything dirt they could get on me. Then one day, I was a day off from work. I'm cleaning up in the apartment. Get a phone call from the chief of police asking for me and asking if I have time or whenever I can to let him know he wants to see me, but right now would be good. So I'm thinking, okay, it has to do with that friend of me. She probably reported me for something because I knew she was scheming something. I knew that. And I already knew that she was already trying to say stuff about me to the cops and nothing happened. So I heard stuff from people. So I'm like, okay. I go down there. And yes, they asked me if I ever threatened her. I said no. And I explained to them about the photo thing and how I just stopped talking to her. And then she's still trying to come at me with that about using my own images. So they let it go. Then they're like, well, what about the park? So you don't hang out in the park or behind the churchyard at all. Because apparently that's where me and my associates are there to target her right when she cuts through it, whenever she does. And I'm like, no, I do cut through there on my way back from school, on my way back from work, because I have to cut through there. And it's the fastest way to get around the lake to get to where I live. Okay, so you know about the dead animals. What dead animals? Apparently, there's a lot of dead squirrels that started appearing in the churchyard. I never heard about it, and I pass by there all the time. Never saw any dead squirrels. But apparently, according to them, it was hinted that maybe I'm killing them, right? Or my satanic cult people are killing them. Then they asked me about the missing children. If I have anything to do with the missing children in town, or if I have any information. I didn't know there were missing children in town. And I told them, I'm like, I didn't read anything about this, and there's nothing in the news. I never heard anyone saying anything about missing children. So what are you getting at? So then they kept coming at me. Then after about an hour, they let me go home. I thought that was it. I found it was weird. Then they brought me in again another time. Similar situation. This time they picked me up off the street when I was walking, either going to the store or coming from the bus station from coming back from work, something like that. I was going home either way. And they asked me to get in the car. And they brought me to the police station. Then they asked me the same kind of questions. Then they asked me what I know about the satanic cults in Sweden. So I said, I don't know. Then they're like, well, you know Marcus Baggy. So I'm like, yeah, he's a photographer I worked with. Then they're like, then you know he's banned from this town for his satanic cult. And I'm like, what? Like, he never told me that. And that story happened to him. So obviously he was targeted at one point. Then they asked me if the blood in the photo shoots is from an animal we sacrificed so we could use its blood for the photos, or if it's from one of his satanic cults rituals that he saved the blood, if it's animal or maybe human, and that he saves it for his photo shoots. So I told him, I don't know what you're talking about. We bought it, the blood, at the grocery store, and it's frozen. You just ask the butcher for it, and by the time we use it, it's defrosted. It smells horrible. So they didn't believe me. And they kept questioning me about satanic cults. Then they want to know what information I have and where the cults are located and who's in the cults. They wanted names and addresses as if, so obviously I'm the kingpin. I came from Canada, so I could reconnect with all the cults that I'm in control of and have the information of in Sweden, right? So that was kind of silly. Then they let me go. Then there was the big blow up where they raided my apartment one morning. About 5 a.m., tick, tick, tick on the door. Then they're calling me by my name, my first name, because Kindra's my middle name. They're calling me by my first name. And they're like, hello, hello. And I'm like, I open the door like this. And what I see is there's a whole team of cops in SWAT gear, like the helmets, the visors, a bulletproof vest. I don't know what they thought we had in our apartment, but, and they, I opened the door like this, and the chief of police stuck his head in the door. And like, hello, it's me, remember me? Like, it reminded me of the scene from The Shining, with Jack Nicholson, like, honey. It reminded me of that. It was like it was in some weird dream or nightmare. It was really fucking creepy. And so, of course, I let them in because they did let it be known they'll bust down the door. So I let them in, and a bunch of cops, there must have been about 20 of them, maybe more. All that was missing were dogs, seriously. They came swarming in the apartment and started digging through everything. Now, my ex was sleeping, and it takes forever to wake him up. They managed to wake him up and question him. He was like, ugh. I was like, and no coffee in me, and I wasn't never up that early on a day off work. Why am I, but I just, so then they wanted to drive me down to the station, but that's when I got authoritative with them. There's no way I was leaving home just the way I was. I was just in my underwear and barely nothing covering me on the top. And there was no way I was stepping outside and going into town like that barefoot. So I had to convince them to let me get dressed. Now, the only thing that got to them, that there was a female cop amongst them. And because I was on my period and I said, look, I got to change my thing and please let me get dressed, she had some humanity in her. So she let me go in the washroom and change. She had to come with me and watch everything I was doing to make sure I really was on my period. And then let me get dressed and brush. And I said, I'm brushing my teeth. And she actually let me do it. And they dragged me out. Later on, they dragged out my ex because he was in another interrogation room. They were questioning him on his music. Because apparently, according to the authorities, he had subliminal messages in his music that will tell his followers, his listeners, whoever hears his music, what they need to do to go and attack that frenemy of mine. It's because it all comes down to her, right? And maybe to kill other people for the band or whatever, right? And his album cover or some of the lyrics or whatever, he had something to do with runes on it. And they thought that was a satanic message to target people. or to tell people to do the evil bidding that he and his band want their fans to do. So he had to explain to them, and he was kind of rude about it. And that didn't go down well, I guess, but they let him go. I was there all day. I was there from that wee hour in the morning all the way to when the sun was setting. It was almost dark when they brought me home. Non-stop targeting, questioning, interrogation, same shit, satanic cults, asking me about my black magic rituals, who I'm targeting my black magic rituals. Do I use, they said voodoo dolls, but obviously they mean poppets, as if I'm walking around with these poppets and sticking needles in them, to attack people as I'm going down the streets. Like, messed up. They asked me about tarot cards and tarot readings I'm conducting. Like, that's so sinister, which I never pulled out tarot cards at all. Only twice in Sweden did I pull out cards. Once at a private party, my friend's girlfriend asked me in advance to bring my cards, that she wanted me to do a private reading for her. And we went in her room and I did reading. No monetary exchange. It's a friend. I'm not charging for tarot readings. And the other time was in my apartment at home. And my then fiance asked me for a tarot reading. The first and only time he asked me for one. And I did his cards. That was it. No one knew I did tarot cards. No one knew I was a witch. No one knew anything. I'm not walking around advertising. I'm a very normal person. Like, what you see on the internet is because I'm promoting what I do for the books I write and other things I'm putting out into the world. I will be putting out into the world. And aside from books, but for the stuff I was promoting at the time too. And of course, I do believe in what I write and I believe in what I do, but I'm not walking around in the offline world, hey, Satan, and acting like and only listening to metal music and whatever people think of me. I'm very normal and I have a wide variety of interests that doesn't involve any of this stuff, and I'm a very intellectual person. So I'm like, I don't know how they saw me, but they're only seeing me from what they're picking up, particularly from my space. And of course, the music I had featured there because I was writing for brutalism.com and a gothic magazine, and I would play a lot of gothic music on my space because we had a music player on there, and stuff I was promoting for brutalism, a lot of black and death metal. And I had my radio show Sundead Morning, which I would promote on there, and Sundead Morning was all about black metal mostly, but and online satanic ritual, I spoke about that in the Q&A anyway. But that's not my everyday regular life. That's a small fraction of who I am. I'm very nuanced, but they're not seeing this, right? The nuances of me. So I was interrogated, and then they had a translator because they want to make sure we all understood. So they said, we're going to speak in English, seeing that's my main language. And to make sure they fully understand, they got a translator. Big mistake on them because the translator they got he's from France, guy from France, and he's into the mysticism and the occult. Because then they put me on the phone with the translator to make sure that he and I could understand each other. And translator wanted to speak to me because he wanted my side of the story. I don't know what the cops told him, but he was under the impression I did something really wrong. Like, the guy probably thought I murdered someone or was being accused of murder because he couldn't believe all this, what was going on, whatever they told him. And I was in the room with the chief of police and 3 other cops, and he didn't know, and they're interrogating me, and he wanted to know the story. So I just told him, I said, someone got jealous and reported me for whatever, and saying I'm trying to cause harm and all this because I'm a witch and I worked with a photographer who they think has a satanic cult. And the guy started laughing, and then he and we spoke in French, because parle français. He's from Paris, and he started asking me if I know about the Kabbalah, and I did. And I said, well, actually, I'm working with the clip-off. I said, oh, you know about that? And we started talking about this stuff in French. The cops were just dumbfounded because they had no clue what we're saying. And, luckily for me at that time, I didn't lose my French yet. I only lost my French totally by the time I moved back here. Of course, I speak it again now, but when I came back here, it was just Swedish and English. But there it was like at least my French was good enough. I'm talking with this Parisian guy, and so we're talking cultism, and the cops didn't like that. So like, okay, enough, we only speak in English. Well, the translator thought the whole thing was so ridiculous that he just signed out. At one point, he hung up the phone. He didn't want any part of it because he thought it was like, what the hell are they questioning me about? And the whole thing was like a freaking joke. It is a joke. It's hard to believe that they would even question this kind of thing this day and age. Now, that chief of police was about to retire at the end of that year or the year after, so I really think he wanted to make me his big case to put his name in the books to go down. Like, through me, he's going to capture and bring down all the satanic cults in Sweden and destroy all these Satanists and stop all the evil and crime, right? Because, of course, the Satanists are the reason why Sweden is in a mess right now with crime. You know, we all know that. Anyhow, so they questioned me all this stuff and ridiculous things. Again, they even questioned me about my ex's music. Not that they didn't interrogate him enough on it, but they questioned me on that too. And all this stuff, and what's my plan, and how do I plan to eliminate that frenemy? And I'm like, well, actually, she's nothing to me. So she doesn't exist to me. But that wasn't enough. So eventually, and every now and then they'd all leave the room, and then just one cop would say to me, usually the woman cop, and then they'd try and figure out their story, then come back, ask me the same ridiculous questions again. His whole thing's idiotic, and but in different ways. Just trying to get me to it. They already had their story on me, what they want to peg me for. And then they were asking me about the National Socialist group that they're saying I'm supporting. And of course, that group, then they're associating it with Satanism. National Socialist Satanism, right? Right wing Satanism, because all Satanists are right wing and part of some organization, and it's all about taking over the world, right? So, yeah, they brought me, asking me about that and twisting things around. And they already had their story. They were just trying to get me to admit to their version of the story. So if I say it, then for sure it's true. And then you could really charge me for whatever, you know. So this is basically what happened. And at one point, when I was alone with the woman cop, I did break down crying. Like, think, wee hour in the morning, you wake me up. I'm exhausted because I worked the day before. And then I have no coffee. You're yelling in my face, interrogation, brightness. I'm like, it was horrible. So through nerves, and I was literally shaking. And it's a police station. What cop station doesn't have coffee? Apparently that day they didn't. The coffees they drank came from elsewhere. No one brought me one. So I was literally like about to lose it. And because I'm trying to keep calm, because if I really lose my shizo, I would have got arrested. So well, I have all this emotion inside. I started crying. What does a woman cop do? She takes my ID. She's like, "You're a really good looking woman here in this picture, but you don't look so good looking now, do you?" Because my hair's a mess, obviously, no makeup. My face was probably all red and puffy at that point. I'm crying, and she's comparing me to my photo of the regular me. So that really brought me down. And then she started questioning me about tarot cards too. When she finally brought me home after that horrible day, and this was not the first time they brought me in for such interrogation, but this was the first time it was that bad that they even brought in a translator and all this crap. But and I was being insulted on appearance, I guess, because I was crying. Well, maybe she was scared I was going to curse her or something because I'm this big evil black witch, right? So when she brought me home before I go to the car, she's like, "I hope all this does not sour your view or your taste of Sweden, and that you don't have a negative view on Sweden or this town or city, like where we're living, small city. I call it a town, and our police force." And I said, "Well, I can't say I have an opinion on the authorities in Sweden because I don't know how the authorities are all over Sweden. I love Sweden, but I don't feel safe or comfortable in this town anymore." And the other reason is for physical attacks that were on me, which I'm going to bring up, get into. And I let her know, and I said, "But I do have a negative view on how idiotic your your forces, your police team here is. You should be ashamed of yourself. There's so much crime around here and actual criminals and things going on that, and especially in the red zones, and you're not doing anything, but you're spending time and resources targeting me for this silliness." and I walked out of the car. Now, the physical attacks on me. First one started with one of my photographers came down from New York or New Jersey, and every year he would come to Sweden. He's from Sweden, but moved to New Jersey, and he had something to do with an art gallery in New York where he presents his photo art. And he would come down for on his holiday for 2 to 3 weeks in Sweden every year, visit his mother, and he would take time to come work with me a day or two. He'd come to where I was living, and we'd do a shoot, and each shoot was a special theme that he would exhibit at his art things in the States. And this one time, not long after this big brouhaha with the cops, we were by a castle on the university grounds near where I was living, near the water, and we were on this hill doing photos. And I hear these two girls coming, talking. They're on the little path, the lower path. And then one of them starts talking really loud English. And then I kind of glance and I recognized her. She's sort of affiliated or associated with the frenemy. The frenemy did some photos at this girl's place of work, and the frenemy did this girl's wedding photos. So obviously this frenemy, as she did with several other people in the town, trying to turn people against me or make people scared of me, this girl bought it and decided to attack me in this weird way because she started talking loud in English. Maybe the person she was talking to is a student from elsewhere and speaks English. Maybe they were talking English, but I knew she was talking really loud because she wanted me to hear. And she kept calling me a bitch. First, she's like, I used to do photos before and I could do that. Now I'm sure I'm better. I'm taller. I'm thinner, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, bitch, bitch, bitch. And she started yelling at me. My photographer was very put off, and he didn't know how to react. He never experienced this before. Neither have I. And so we chose to ignore it and continue to do our work and try and focus on the photo we're doing, the type of scene we're trying to do. And then she had the nerve to come up the hill, go straight to my photographer, ruin the shot, and disturb him, and suggest that he works with her and that she would give her information to him and he could contact her and they could work out a photo shoot sometime that week. And he just looked at her and said, I only work with professionals, which is true. And how I met him was through a professional model photographer website for work. And she got highly insulted, went down, continued to call me bitch and several other names. She called me satanic witch bitch, which is okay. I wouldn't mind that title if it was used in a good way. But she was saying it in a very bad way and some other things. And she called me some nasty stuff in Swedish too. And then her and her friend, or whoever that other girl was, started throwing rocks at me, almost hitting the photographer. And he had to address it and then they left. This never ever happened before. Someone tried to stone me. And then not long after that, at the time, I was writing for Gothic Magazine and for Brutalism.com, but this time was for the Gothic Magazine. And there was an event happening at a local pub or bar, a venue. And the band playing is the band, the original singer from Night Witch, what's her name at the top? Tarja or Tara. It's her band. She left that band for Night Witch. Well, they had a new singer now, and they were playing there, and it's like a big deal. Anyways, for the magazine, I was there to take some photos of the band and try and interview them after the show, just so, or if I don't interview them, at least just write an article on my opinion of the show. So I went with friends, my fiance at the time, drummer of his band, and another friend and a friend's girlfriend. And we were hanging out in the pub section because where the venue was, where the bands play, was behind these big black doors in another part of the venue. And that wasn't open yet. So we were sitting there, and I think we got some food. I can't remember, but I know we had a few drinks. Anyways, my back is to the door, and my friend in front of me, he's like, oh, and he said the name he calls that woman is a very bad name in Swedish, and I can't remember what it is, but I know he's really putting her down. And she came in. He said, don't turn around, but she's there and she's talking to the guard and they're looking at us. Then next thing you know, they're pointing towards us. Then another security guard came and then both guards were staring at us apparently. So I kind of glanced and I got that. I'm like, oh great, what's gonna happen now? Now I found out later on the story was that the guards were told that I write for White Supremacist National Socialist magazine and that by me, I'm there. I'm in whatever I'm doing for the magazine. The name of the bar is going to be in my article, so it's going to make the bar look bad because I'm associating them with that. Then they also said stuff about me and my friends. I guess it didn't help that two of the guys with us had bald heads, like shaved purposely bald heads, right? So didn't look so good for me at that time. But anyways, by the time the band came on, um, the friend and his girlfriend, they left. So it ended up being just me, my fiance, and the drummer of his band. What we didn't know is that everything was set up to frame us. So when we walked in the venue, the frenemy's husband was hiding, taking pictures as we were walking. See, they were building up their story for the police with photos and then writing a story as if we were sneaking in on them. And then they were taking pictures of us from across the bar. Like I would have not even seen her, and she's short. She only comes up to like here on me, and I'm not tall. So, it is like I wouldn't have noticed her, and I was busy doing my thing. So I went up near the stage. I'm taking pictures, and one of the photos I seen later that the authorities gave me in the case against me, because I'm allowed to see everything. She was standing behind me making scared faces as if I'm threatening her, like, because their story is that I threatened her and then I took pictures, pretending to take pictures. She's looking all scared. So her husband took pictures of her in my vicinity behind my back without me seeing her and acting scared. And then me there smiling, taking pictures, right? So they built us up and then they took pictures of the guys too. And it was just bullshit, the whole thing bullshittery. And the fact that the police of that area where I was living in Sweden, that town, fell for any of this or played into all this childness, immaturity, really didn't make me feel safe there because these are the people supposed to be like, for enforcing the law and protecting the citizens, not. So basically, what happened after that is the attack on me by the security guard. The security guard was not in the venue, but he kept opening doors looking to see where I was. At one point, I was taking pictures. He came, he grabbed my arm. I almost dropped the camera. He twisted my wrist. Like it was all bruised and stuff. And I told him he's hurting me. And I told him in Swedish, but he knew I was English, obviously, because of her. And he kept threatening me and telling me that I'm a distraction and I'm disturbing the band because of the flash of my camera. One, my camera did not have a flash, and there was throb lights and tons of people taking photos, even these big giant photo flash things. So it's not my camera with the flash, and everyone else could flash, but I can't have a simple camera. But I'm the problem. So I went to where the guys were, and they asked me what's wrong, and I told them, and I said, "You guy really hurt my wrist," and they're they're like, ignore it. And then that's when they noticed that the woman's husband taking pictures of us. And I think it was my fiance said something to him to make him stop taking pictures of us. I'm not sure, but I know he went to say something. But anyhow, at that point, then they encouraged me. Well, mostly my former fiance, my fiance at the time, encouraged me to go back and take pictures. He said they can't tell you to not take pictures when everyone else is. So I went back. I just went all the way to another section away from those people, from the frenemy, and in a part where the guard, if he opens the door, is not really going to see me because I'm kind of in a darkened corner, but I can still focus in on the band as they're playing. Anyways, the guard came in looking for me, found me, took the camera out of my hand, smashed it. So no more camera, and that's never going to be replaced, right? Then he proceeded to yell in my face, called me names. He did call me a Nazi. He called me, National Socialist Nazi. He called me other names really bad. And which I can't repeat on here. And then when I told him to get the fuck out of my face and leave me alone, he told me to get out of there. I'm banned. I'm like, what do you mean? I didn't do anything wrong. And then he picked me up like a doll and basically body slammed me on the floor. Like, this guy is huge. Like his his biceps was basically my body, the size of my body. And he did that, hit me in the stomach, hit me here. I lost a tooth. And eventually I lost a tooth under it on the bottom row because that chipped and it slowly chipped away and came out days later. It was just like little stubs there now. But yeah. So, and I'm a chronic anemic, right? So any person would bruise from this, but a chronic anemic, I don't produce enough red blood cells. So it takes me a long time to heal from stuff or recover if I get sick or something. So if I bruise, a normal person might last a few days, me could last months. So he hurt me pretty well. The drummer of my fiance's band, instinct kicked in, even though he's not a big guy, wanted to save me, came running, jumped on the security guy's back and started pounding him. Security guard is like King Kong at this point, took him, one arm like a doll, me in the other arm like a doll, and literally, without our feet touching the ground, threw us out and dragged us through the whole pub and threw us out in the street. And the poor guy, the drummer, he almost got hit by a car because the sidewalk is very small and then there's cars and it's like a Friday night or something. It's a weekend. There's a lot of cars and he almost got hit and it was raining. It was really raining and cold. My adrenaline kicked in. I don't care that I'm injured. I don't care if I have blood on me or there wasn't a lot of blood, little obviously the mouth and my lip, and I'm bruised, but I don't care. The pain I'm feeling, the adrenaline just kicked in. Not feeling any of that. And I start going at the guard, yelling at him and telling him off. Then I demand he goes in if he's not going to let me in, go in because I have my purse in there full of money. And I have my coat and I really wanted my jacket because it's freezing outside. And I'm trying to get a hold of my ex. He's not responding. His phone. So I'm like freaking out. Eventually, my ex came out, and I don't know if it's because some girl at one point came out. I think she was nosy, wanted to see what was going on. Like, we got dragged out, and here I am threatening the guard after and threatening I'm going to sue him. And so she came out. Then, not long after she went in, then my ex came out, gave me my purse and my jacket, and I think the other guy's jacket too. And then he went back in. I don't know why, but eventually caught up with us. Me and the drummer guy went straight to the police station because I wanted to report this. Now, here's the problem. I don't know if it's like this all over Sweden, but where I was living, there's no cops on the weekend. And I found this out the hard way, that the security that they had at the bar have more authority than the police have during any given day. And no matter what, I could bring the guy to court, but no matter what, no matter what evidence or witnesses I have, the courts will always side with the security guards. And the fact that I already have all these allegations against me for the witchcraft stuff and the Satan cults and the National Socialism and whatever else they pegged me for, that they weaved into this sinister story that they already, that's against me too. So there's that. Anyways, we went to the police station. And like I said, my ex, well, then fiance at the time, he caught up with us. So he was at the police station. And there was one attendant there. So she took information. Then she took me in the room. When she took me in the room, I started talking to her. I started crying. I couldn't help it. I started crying. And she suggested I go to the hospital and get checked. So I have the report from the hospital, all this stuff. Anyways, to go back home, we have to walk by the bar. But we're on the opposite side of the street. As we are on the opposite side of the street, I see the friend of me and her husband whining and talking with the security guards, and they seen us coming before we noticed they were out there. So right away, the story is that they fabricated that we came back and we were waiting across the street for them to come out of the bar to attack them. And that would have been the night, in the rain, in the dark, to wait for them to eliminate them in the churchyard, right? When they're going home. That's the whole story. And they made it perfect. And here the security guards, because she was pointing towards us to make the guards turn around and see us across the street, but we were just walking. I also had to walk that way to get to the hospital. So, hospital, home, it's all the same direction. I have to go past the place. But just as we got directly in front of it walking, that's when they pointed at us and the guards turned around. So to back up their story for yet another police report, another thing against me, right? So yeah, but because of this, I didn't go to work for like 2 days because bruises. I want to go in how I looked. and the missing tooth, and I want to heal. Obviously, my face swelled from that. My face is kind of poofy now from lack of sleep, but it was much worse then. But and I want to get this taken care of. So what I was told by the attendant at the police station is she filed that, and Monday someone's going to call me to make arrangements for me to go in and then get the whole story, and then the full report will go through. All sounds good. So I show up there. I already have a thing from the hospital. I made my my ex, or my fiance at the time, take pictures of the bruises on me. So I have all this to put in my file with the police on my report and my case that I'm building up against that guard that freaking beat me. Here's what happens. I got treated like the bad guy. It's my fault. So I go there, explain my situation, told them what the guy, because the girl told me the fact they called me a Nazi and stuff, that's illegal. They can't do that. You can't already accuse. When I told him, he says, yeah, that's in the report. They said those things about you and saying you write for this magazine. I don't. I give him the name of the magazine. It's a Gothic magazine from the UK. He said, yes, I have that. All this is in the report, but I don't believe you. And I said, well, my witness is, and I named the drummer guy, and they're like, yeah, we don't believe him either. And he doesn't, he looks like he's fitting the accusations. So basically, it was wiped off, and then everything else against me about the satanic cults and all that is in the report. So right away, I'm in the wrong. And then next thing you know, a few days later, I get called at work that after work, before going home, if I could come by the police station, because yet another charge about me against that day, because apparently I, as I just relayed, that friend of me built her story up that we were there targeting them and waiting across the street for her to leave the bar so we could attack her and her husband in the churchyard or the park. So I got brought in for questioning on that. And then again, they brought up the yada, 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 the sinister tarot readings and satanic cults. And again, trying to get information about satanic cults from me. Because I know everybody, right? And even if I did, as if I'm going to rat people out. But seriously. But so this is what happened to me. The real life, most brutal witch hunt I could give you that had happened to me. In Montreal, nothing like that. We do have here in Montreal things called witch hunters, or people called witch hunters. What they do is they follow individuals, target them. They try to book people for tarot readings just so they could try and out you as frauds. A lot of these people are reporters, and then they're going to go on radio stations, TV stations here in Quebec, and then say, look, they're either going to have the person who did their tarot reading or whatever on film, or they're going to just have a recording playing of them saying, see, they're telling me this, but really this is not true. And I gave them a fake story and they did my reading based on that story. So more proof that they're frauds. So it's just trying to out people's frauds. There have been very few cases that I know of. Maybe there's more, but there are a few I know of where tarot readers or certain people, witches working at witch shops, and that have been physically attacked from these so-called witch hunters, even at one point kidnapped years back. So it has happened. I used to work in one of the occult shops I used to work at, the most recent one, before it shut down. That's the only reason why I'm not there. But that one, people have come in there to target us, but we just kicked them out of the store a few times. And one place I worked at in the plateau, I was a witch shop. I was there alone, working all by myself on a weekend. And I had some Christian fanatic come in, and this was a big guy, and you could tell he wasn't all there. And it was around Easter time, so he must have been all riled up and tried to attack me because we sold cards with angels on them, like oracle cards, and we had incense of the 72 archangels. So he tried to attack me for that because we had it also with other witchy stuff, or what he would say is demonic or evil. And he tried to come at me. I physically had to take him out of the shop. Like, I didn't care. But his biggest defense was, and I thought he was going to hit me with it, he pulled out from under his shirt this giant crucifix in wood and put it in my face. I thought he was going to stab me with it, but I stood my ground and he left. But to get attacked the way I was, or even physically attacked, and to have the authorities not even want to protect me and tell me that I could take the guard to court, but no matter what, I'm just going to lose money, because no matter what happens to me, they're going to side with them. So that security guard could have totally disfigured me, and it wouldn't matter. They could do whatever they want to whoever they want, because they're higher than the cops. At any given time, the courts will always side with them. And the fact I had all those already allegations on me. So just imagine that, like that would not fly here. Here, if anyone went to the police here and would try to report that here in Montreal, they would get laughed out of the police station. But in Sweden too, you have to keep in mind, well, in that town, a lot of the reports, I'm sure, weren't always by that couple. It was by them, but not in person. They were probably calling in anonymously. Because they compensated when the cops raided our place. They took our computers and everything. We had to fight to get those back. Like, it took about 2 months, maybe a bit more, calling every day at the police station. Well, my ex always calling just to force them to give us back our computers. Other people in the town who had dealings with this friend of me also got their place busted into with their computers taken away. Some people didn't get their computers back. So I don't know what they're looking for on there or what was reported. But, anyone could call anonymously and report something to the police. And if you say something that's a target, let's say you call anonymously and you say, someone has child porn on their computer, no proof, and you don't give your name, just on that one call, the police will go and raid that person's place and take their computer. That I heard cases like that had happened in that town, a small city where I was living. So I don't know if all of Sweden's like that. I just didn't feel safe living there. And I really wanted to live somewhere else in Sweden, but that didn't happen. And like I said, I'm not going to regurgitate that story. That's in my Q&A video, the one that has Sweden in the title. It was uploaded about a week ago. So that's it I'm going to share. That's the story. This is very long, so I'm going to end it here for now. So thank you for tuning in. Hope this entertains you, and maybe you'll thread carefully about how you present your Satanism or whatever. Anyways, darkest blessings under Lucifer's light.